Rico on this computer. And then let me make a formal introduction for the listener here. Good afternoon, David. My name is Claudio. Let's make a formal introduction to our listeners from the studios in Fairfax City. We are very humble and grateful that David Cross accepted our invitation to our show. David Cross is an English electronic violinist and keyboard best known for playing with the progressive rock band King Crimson from 1972 to 1974. Since the late 80s, he has led, toured, and recorded with his own band as well. David, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Nice to see you, Claudio.
No problem. David, with all this has been a very weird year for everybody, with the issues that are in the world and waiting for the vaccine and the pandemic. Um, how is this affecting your normal life and creativity?
Well, obviously, all the live work went out the window. There's no live work at all, and I was getting busier, and so a lot of things have been cancelled. So that is disappointing. I was learning to enjoy playing in front of people. I've always been a nervous performer all my life. But as I've got older, I've grown to enjoy live performance more. So that's disappointing, frustrating, and I miss my colleagues. I miss as you would, I miss the people I play with. I can't work with the people I'm used to working with, and I miss their company, as we all do. In a musical sense, it's been very good for me, I think. I've managed to work on my instrument, and I've managed to work on composing in quite useful ways. So with my instrument, I've been working on technique a lot more. So that's getting better. I'm very, very slow learner. What most 10-year-olds learn in a month. It probably takes me about 10 years to learn. So I'm making very slow progress, but I'm gradually getting better. So I'm practicing quite a lot.
Yep.
And I've also have a range of instruments, and I kind of have been working out my ideal electric violin. And hopefully I'm embarking with my guy called David Bruce Johnson, who makes Violectra violins, who made my last violin, on adapting a violin to get the best of all possible worlds. So I'm looking forwards to, when I do get out in front of people again, to being at my very best, I hope. So in some ways I'm quite enjoying it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for me, from my point of view, that gave me, since I'm a software engineer, and now in the last 10 months now working from home for the most part, being able to open this radio station and like you, I enjoy music. I don't play any instrument, but it has been good to be at home, be with my music, and listen to a lot of great composers like yourself. Were you born in a musical family at all?
Yeah, my father was a musician. He was a semi-pro musician. He had a day job to bring money in to keep us all alive and well, and then he would play in the evenings and at weekends. So he was a piano player.
Yep.
And an organist. So he used to play church organ. He used to play in church on Sundays, and on Saturdays he'd play weddings, occasional funerals. And then in the evenings he'd play in dance bands. He was a pianist in dance bands. And he even played, when I was quite young, he played cinema organ for on Saturday mornings. There were children's films in the cinema, and he would play the organ to have a sing-song of all the kids singing together in these big theatres, 3,000 kids all singing these songs with him playing the organ. And I used to go down and sit next to him on the organ. It was wonderful experience. My first experience of playing big venues.
Yeah,
Very exciting.
absolutely.
So yeah, he was musical. He was a very good improviser. Actually, I got my love of improvisation really from him. It's a tradition in the church that the organist will play, make up music while the choir and the clergy are coming into the church, and while there's movement around the church. So he was used to improvising, and then he played in dance bands and would play quite a lot of jazz, and he could improvise that. So I grew up with improvisation being a very natural part of what music was. So I got a lot from him. Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
Yes.
What time were you started playing the violin? Do you remember?
Well, I always thought it was when I was about 7, but my mother, before she died, corrected me. She said I was 9 when I started. So I was quite late, compared with people who, really good violin players tend to start very young. But I started quite late, and
So you're very good.
well, I don't know about that. I'm getting better, slowly getting better.
You're very humble. And like I have interviewed several people from the UK, and these are the completely different mentality. The UK in general for example, I interview folks from Genesis, right? Anthony
Yeah,
Phillips, Steve
yes.
Hackett, so on, and they're always British people are, very, very humble in general, a very different mentality than Americans here in the United States. And
Well, yeah, but I think when you play in America, you realize how good musicians are. I mean, when I was in Crimson, it was, that was a humbling experience to just, go to a kind of local bar and see see American bar bands playing. Even in the 70s, they were so good,
yeah,
so tight. I mean, the tradition of rock and jazz was just so strong, and I was just really shocked how good they were. So I think Americans deserve to be quite right to be proud of what they do.
yeah. But now you mentioned the 70s. I mean, if you look back, in my opinion, right, it's
Yeah,
the best in the music that I like, right? The best bands from the 70s above are Led Zeppelin, Genesis with Peter Gabriel, and Pink Floyd by far, in my opinion.
yes, yeah,
Those people are way ahead of the time. We're
yes, I
gifted in
agree.
many
Yeah.
times, right? Right. So, do you remember what was your first band? Were you in high school? We were in high school here.
I tried to find. I wasn't playing violin, and I played an acoustic guitar with a microphone stuck inside it. But we didn't play in public. We just tried to make things up. We were trying to copy the Animals. I think we were doing the House of the Rising Sun.
Yep.
And I don't know what else we did. I just remember that we probably only had one tune, and we kept practicing that one. So then that was when I was at school. So it wasn't when I got to college. I went to study music and drama at an education college where you learn to be a teacher. And there I started playing much more. I played in folk bands and I played in jazz bands there. And that's when I started really performing in public with bands. And yeah, and that was a great experience. Yeah.
Thank you.
And I
How
left.
did
I mean, I became professional after I left there. So 3 years later, I went on the road with a band from that area. I was in Exeter, and about 200 miles west of London.
so that was how many years before that you ended up
That
joining?
was 1970. I came to London with a band in 1970. We
Yeah.
had an audition with a management company in London, so we all got into an ambulance, which was our group van, an ex-ambulance, and we drove to London, and that's how I started working full time in music.
I got you. Well, how you end up joining Mike King Crimson in '72? How did it happen?
Yeah, yeah. That's right.
No, how did you end up joining King Crimson?
Oh, how? Oh,
Yeah.
right. Well, I was with another band, and we were rehearsing. We were looking for a record deal, and we approached a number of companies, but one of them was EG Management, who are the company that managed King Crimson and had their own record label at the time. So we asked them to come down and see us. They did come down and see us. They brought Robert Fripp down with them to listen, and they went away. They didn't sign us, and that was that. Really, then Robert later got hold of me and was interested in doing a. You okay? Was
Yep,
interested in doing an album of Indian, a kind of Indian type improvised album
yep.
based on drones and tabla. And there was a percussionist called Jamie Muir that he wanted to work with. So we got together and we had a session at Jamie's house in London, in Highbury, and we tried out some music for that, which was good. It was great. And we were going to go ahead with that. And then before we stepped into a studio to do anything about that, Robert came up with the possibility of doing something with the three of us and John Wetton possibly, and Bill was another possibility, Bill Bruford. So we then had a session with all of us. Actually, John couldn't make it, but with the rest of us, and that proved successful. So then that became a new King Crimson.
Yeah.
So we never did make the album with Jamie and me and Robert.
So that was between 72 and 74. Were you guys touring that a lot? It was stressful. And
was I touring with King Crimson?
Yeah.
Well, we started off with a long period of rehearsal, which was really good.
Yeah.
But then, we toured heavily after that. Yeah, we toured the UK first of all, and then we recorded, and we did a few gigs in Germany, and we then after that we recorded Larks Tongues In Apsic album in London. Yeah. And then we started touring again, and we toured a lot after that. Did about five tours of America and some tours of Europe, etc.
It was stressful. I mean, playing, but in terms of those big names that you mentioned, it was kind of different personalities, and it's I suppose that it's not that easy.
No, the people were great. They were fine. They were great to work with. No, that wasn't stressful at all. No, I mean, I found performing quite stressful. But I always have, because I'd always been quite had stage fright, being nervous of playing in front of people. It's a kind of love-hate relationship, really. No, that's not a love-hate relationship. That's the wrong message. That's what Robert feels, I think, sometimes. It's a kind of love-fear relationship, really. Where I was very nervous and quite frightened of being in front of the audience, but then I also loved it at the same time. So, gradually I've got to kind of learnt to love it more than be frightened of it. But so in that way it was stressful, but only stressful in the way that any performer finds performing stressful. I mean, I think there are stresses to do with traveling, which are quite hard as well. But I have less trouble with that now, so I don't know whether maybe it was just because it was all new to me. It was probably that as much as anything. I mean, I hadn't, I'd never been to America before. I mean, I had travelled in Europe a little bit before. So, it was all new. Yeah. It was quite, I think I made it more stressful than it needed to be. I mean, I kind of bought into the kind of rock and roll kind of lifestyle, certainly to do with drinking. I would drink a lot, and of course that makes, waking up with a hangover every morning makes everything much worse. So that was my own fault really, and I think that didn't help, because that made me even more nervous. I mean, the thing I'd learned to do before Crimson was that I'd learned never to drink before performing, at least no more than a sip of a beer or something. I'd never drink before playing, and I've always managed to stick to that. So that's been good. So that was never a problem, but it was just anxiety really caused by drinking too much, not getting enough sleep, all the things that you gradually realise you have to do as you get older.
And then when you go on tour, right? You go to one city, and then you go to hotel at 11 o'clock or so, and then you need to fall asleep, and then in the morning catch another flight or a bus, and then
Yeah.
play the next morning, and so on.
Yeah, 11 o'clock's an early night. I tell you, we never had that.
Or 1 o'clock in the morning. Well, you fall asleep, right? The
It's more
gig
like
might
4 o'clock in the morning. Get up at 6.
Oh my God, man.
Those are the kind of things that.
And then you need
I mean,
to,
even now that happens because you can't always get flights, that you want to get. Anyway, so yeah, lack of sleep is even when you're living as healthily as I do these days,
yeah.
it's still difficult. Yeah, yeah.
And then what happened in '74? What did you end up leaving King Crimson? Was like your decision, mutual decision? You wanted to do things on your own?
By that time, I mean, this was 2 years later, so I was fed up with touring by then.
Yeah.
When I started, it was kind of stressful, but it was new. But it was going on and on and on, and I wasn't enjoying it anymore. I was Part of it was to do with playing, in that I found it. I wasn't really holding my own properly. I wasn't playing as well as I wanted to. I could do some things well. I'd always managed to play, a few kinds of things well. I could do, some of the acoustic things to do. I could do good long lines, sort of duets with Robert well. But my soloing wasn't very good. My ability to hold a solo, I could do some sort of more extreme solos, more avant-garde things, but I didn't really have the understanding to develop solos in a way that I wanted to. I had a good kind of instinct for it and a good kind of understanding of how you tell a story through music, but I didn't have enough technical knowledge at that stage about music to make it really really work. I wasn't happy with it, and the sound was also very difficult. Always on stage, it was always loud on stage. I was always, on a threshold between hearing myself or not being able to hear myself properly. So that was causing, problems with it was making it harder for me to play in tune. It was making it harder for me to play properly at all. So that was difficult, and the endless touring meant I never really got it sorted out. And actually, the technology wasn't as good as it could have been at that time. But there were great players, great violinists around. Jean-Luc Ponty and David Laflamme, and wonderful players around who were doing it. So it's a bad workman that blames his tools. So obviously it was me that was wrong, not the instrument. So I was frustrated that that I hadn't sorted that out, and I wasn't really playing, I thought, as well as I could. So I wanted to stop. Basically, I wanted to stop touring, and but I wanted to carry on recording. But I talked to the management company about that. They'd already talked to the band about it, and they weren't interested in that. I said, that I was interested in carrying on doing recording, but I didn't want to keep touring like that. And it was basically a kind of in or out situation. So it was out. So I had to stop really. I mean, by that time, the stress I'd started to develop some mental health issues, mainly phobia to do with heights, which was a shock when that kind of came on, which was probably induced by anxiety you know, a lot of touring stress. And so, you know, that was I wanted to kind of find a breath to kind of deal with that as well. I became quite frightened of heights, and you know, I knew things were wrong there that I had to sort out. So that was why I went. And the day that happened, I did feel an enormous sense of relief. You know, it was the right thing to do. You know, when you're not sure about a decision and then it's made, and you suddenly know that it was the right one or the wrong one. Well, it was the right one for me. I had you know, I had a walk home from across Hyde Park, you know, in Regent's Park. I walked home from Chelsea to where I lived in North London. You know, normally I wouldn't. I get a bus or a tube or something, or a taxi, but I just walked, and it was one of those beautiful summer days, and I just started to feel at home with myself in a way that I hadn't really for a while. Um, Obviously, it was enormously disappointing. You know, I mean, you know, it was obviously very important for me as a career, and I really liked, you know, the rest of the band, and you know, enjoyed their company even when we were together for weeks at a time. So in that way, it was disappointing, but it was the right thing, and it was good to have that space. And I did use that space to, you know, rethink, reinvent myself, and find again my, you know, where David Cross lives in the world, you know, which was, you know, not just in King Crimson. So it was the right thing to do, and it was a good thing to do.
No, absolutely. And nowadays, now that you have been at home, right?
Yeah.
In my case, I back here at home. I wanted to do introspection and then see what I like, right?
Yes.
You know, I'm a computer scientist and I work for a kind of famous company here in the United States, but always music
What
was.
area of science are you into? What are you interested in?
So
What's your
I'm
science?
a computer scientist. I work in
Ah,
the cloud development.
all right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
My son's gone into coding and
yeah,
programming. He did a music degree,
yeah,
and he did a master's degree actually in music, but you know, he couldn't find any work in music, and then he became fascinated by coding, and he studied that, and now he has a job doing that now. It is
yeah.
fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah, and a lot of, believe it or not, there's a high correlation between music and people that study computer science. There are many
Yes.
people like your son, right?
Yes.
In my case, and I know many people that they end up working, writing code, writing software, and they like music. I have no idea what's the direct relation. But for me, it was being at home now, and I needed to find out and look myself in the mirror and say what I want to end up doing for the rest
Yes.
of my life. So that's what
Mm.
I decided to open this radio station. The first one was a soft rock one. I released another one last night. We called Jazz Rock. I will send you the link. I'm going to be opening a one from electronic music soundtrack and stuff like that. And I realized, well, I like it, right? I'm not a musician. I have a big music collection. I see close to 40 shows a year now. With the pandemic, I cannot see any. And I want
Yes.
to do something that I'm not going to make a lot of money, but I like it, and I have very good reception. A lot of people listen to the radio, so I'm very happy with that.
That's great. I mean, yeah,
You
it's
know,
very important to do that, isn't it? It's very
yeah,
important to.
some stuff, David, as you know,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
You do things for money, and other stuff you do because you like it, right? So,
Yes.
you know, in your case, music and playing live and touring, it pays the bills, and you make money on that. But there's some stuff that you do for fun because you like it at home, or for me, music is my outlet, right? When I'm stressed out and I listen to the music, it's a good way for me to
Mm.
um, forget about the science, forget about the computer, put my
Yes.
headphone and listen to, King Crimson, Pink Floyd, Depeche Mode, Peter Gabriel, whatever one happens to listen at the time. So it's good. Um, so did you, how did from the rock and roll world,
Mm.
if you ended up in theater? How did it happen?
In theatre.
Yeah,
Well, when I when I went to when I trained as a teacher, I'd always been interested in both theatre and music.
Yeah.
And when I trained as a teacher, I studied music as a main subject and drama as a second subject.
Yeah.
Um, and I was very interested in that. I was very interested in the plays of Samuel Beckett. He was somebody that was, emerging, well, long emerged, but was very fashionable at that time. And I just loved I love the sound actually of his words. Was one of the things that struck me, in the structure of his words. He uses a lot of repetition. But anyway, I also was very shy, and so like a lot of shy people, I was attracted to acting as well, because you think actors aren't shy people, but of course it's not quite like that. But I did after Crimson, I decided to look at that aspect of me as well, and see where that led. So I started doing classes. I did acting classes, professional acting classes, and movement classes, voice classes, and started moving into that world. And I did did some lunchtime theatre and stuff like that. The first paid job I had was actually was a superb job. It was at the Royal Court Theatre, which is one really adventurous but mainstream theatre in London, and it was a play called Teeth and Smiles, and I was an understudy in it, which was ideal. So this was right at the beginning when I thought I'd try out acting. So I got to be an understudy. I got the job really because I could play piano a bit. You had to be able to play piano and sing a bit, and and I could do all of those things sort of to mediocre standard, but I could pretend I could do them well. Anyway, so I got that job as an understudy, and in fact, I was the only understudy that didn't go on the stage. Everybody else did. So I didn't get to that, but the understudies did a play. So we did a play at the theatre upstairs, and gradually I sort of started to develop some skill in that. Did a few plays. I did a year in children's theatre. I joined a children's theatre company, and that was fantastic because that was really working at being an actor. It was, you drive in a van, you go to a school, you get out, do a play, go drive to another school, do a play, go to a community centre in the evening. It was really hard work, and we did it all over the UK. And I wrote music for that, and I played synthesizer for that, and and acted. You always had to do 2 or 3 roles in it. So I learned a lot about acting. And somewhere along the way, I started to realise that actually to be good at it, it was as difficult as being a musician. All right, I kind of had this idea that acting was really just play, and didn't involve skill, as much skill as all the studies you have to do to be a musician. But I began to realise that the people who were good at it were immensely skilled, and that I didn't have that skill. But so I didn't. I just started to look at music again. But having made that journey into theatre, I kind of returned to music with a rather, I think, a better attitude and a kind of warmer attitude. Really, it was less. I'd lost the thing that I think one of the things that why I had the background of kind of being so nervous on stage when I started, when I was in Crimson, was all to do really with how you're kind of taught to play an instrument, which is you have to do exams, and you learn to play and you do exams, or you have to perform in competitions in front of people, and there's this really competitive element to the whole thing. And I knew what I was interested in wasn't to do with that, but that still kind of was hanging around at the edges. And I think I managed by exploring myself as an actor. I think I started to realise that it wasn't anything about that. The only thing that was important was your communication with the audience. And so I started to, that made me more comfortable being on stage as a musician. And from that point on, I was happy to do anything that came along. Really, I did music and I did acting if it came along. And then I got a mortgage, and then suddenly didn't have any acting work at all, or musical work, and so then I started doing teaching, which is what I'd been trained to do in the first place.
Yeah.
And teaching was immensely exciting as well. So I've kind of kept doing whatever came along, really. So I've enjoyed a career of teaching, every now and again a little bit of acting, and making music a lot, and gradually getting better at, I think, at least playing the violin. I gradually got better at.
But now that you cannot tour, right, for the pandemic, are you kind of teaching kids? Are you at home or online kind of
I'm
program?
not. I'm not doing. I'm not doing anything. And no, I stopped. My teaching took me into. I ended up working in a university teaching, training music teachers.
Oh, gotcha. Right.
But that stopped. I retired from that, and then I started making more music again. But that's closed down with the lockdown now. So no, I'm not teaching now. I'm just I'm just writing stuff at home now,
Gotcha.
trying to get better.
I was last night when I was began preparing the interview, I listened to Starless again. Uh,
Yes.
your version with your band, the one with King Crimson, and many others that are out there in YouTube. And what a oh my God, what a wonderful piece, man! Is one of the
Yeah.
Starless. I think is gotta be in the top maybe 100 best song ever written in the history of the universe. I think.
Yes,
Um,
it is. I think it's an extraordinary song as well,
oh,
and
unbelievable! Yeah, it
it's
makes me very emotional.
haunted me in a positive sense all my life. It's
Yeah.
lovely, and I'm so proud to be associated with it. I thought I'd kind of worked it out of my system, and when I produced this album, the Starless Starlight album, which is all based on the first opening tune of Starless,
Yep.
but it's still there. When I play it, I get shivers down my spine. I
Absolutely.
still am so excited to hear it. I love the words that Richard Palmer James wrote. And I'm very lucky to be in a band now with Gillian Wilde, who just sings it beautifully. In fact, while we actually are going to, because we haven't released a studio version with Jin singing it, so we're working on an album now, finishing an album now, which has Gillian singing it. And I was just, as you rang up, I was just trying to remember what on earth I played on the keyboard while the verse was going on. I couldn't remember at all. It's gone out of my head. I'm just looking at the chords, thinking, "No, how do I get a part out of that?" I just forgotten. But I never thought I would be still, after all these years. And I thought I'd left this long behind, but it just won't lie down. This song
It
keeps
won't go
keeps coming
away.
up again.
Last night I was listening to the King Crimson version and
Yeah,
with Tony Levin and so on so forth and recent stuff, and it's unbelievable. I
yeah,
mean, each is a great composition, but each person, each musician, right? Not just Robert Fripp or Tony Levin,
yeah.
each give them their own way to play, right? Extend
Yes,
the
yes,
guitar portion, then Tony Levin start, then there's a keyboard player, do a couple minutes,
yeah,
and then Robert Fripp appear again, and
yes.
it's unbelievable. So beautiful, man.
Yes, I don't know why it works so well like that. It somehow manages to allow space for everybody to just be, to just be themselves. It's
Absolutely,
fantastic.
man.
And Tony is so, such an amazing player as well. He's so cool actually.
Well,
He's a great
Tony
player.
Levin, I had the opportunity to when not with King Crimson, but he played with his own brother as well. They do a band, and
Yes, that's right.
he's
Yeah.
a very decent guy. I really like Tony. It's a matter of
Yeah,
fact,
yeah.
I emailed him when was it? A couple of days ago to see if I can bring him to the radio as well. He's a very good guy too. I really like him.
Yeah. No, I did a tour of South America with Stickman in
Yeah, of course. Yes.
2018. Yeah,
Yeah.
and so that was with him all the time, and he was, he's a
Were you in,
fascinating
right?
person to be around.
I was born in Chile. Were you in Chile at all?
Chile, yeah.
I know you guys were
Santiago.
in Buenos Aires as well,
Santiago.
Argentina. Yeah. You like it?
I think it was Beautiful Theatre. I think we played there.
Yeah.
Absolutely lovely. Yes, lovely. And one of my I don't know if you know Bernie. It's I've forgotten his second name now. Bernie. He's a Crimson fan,
Yeah.
and he was in the States, but something had an unfortunate is there was a death in his family, and he had to go back to Chile. So I'd never actually met him, but I did meet him for the first time there.
Yeah.
And and that's part of being this sort of global village thing, where you finally do meet people that you've spoken to on FaceTime or on Facebook or something like that, and you finally meet them.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely lovely to do that. That's one of the lovely things now about touring is just when you actually meet people that you've only seen pictures of or
That's right.
shared a few lines with, and you finally meet them and they're real people. It's
absolutely. I end up.
It's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, I was born in Santiago, and I after high school I end up coming to the United States to study. I went to graduate school, and I ended up staying all my life. So that was the best decision of my life, coming here to America to see bands, because at the time, early 80s, bands were not going to South America. So I was going crazy. I wanted to see bands, right? I began collecting records when I was 14, but I couldn't see any gigs. And I got lucky in my life. I was able to come here, and the rest is history. I'm very happy. I have seen so many great bands, and I'm very happy in my life because I was going crazy living there at the time. Now everybody goes to South America, but 30 years ago it wasn't the case. It wasn't the case.
Bernie Quiroga was his name. Bernie Quiroga is his name.
Oh, yeah, no, I don't know.
No, okay. Anyway, that was I mean, I loved going around South America, and and I couldn't have chosen nicer people to do it with. It was great fun. Good.
I think many people have compared you with Jean-Luc Ponty, which I have a great admiration, and I'm going to be interviewing his daughter next week, Clara Ponty, as well. Have you met him?
Is she a violinist too? Is she a violin player as well?
Yeah, but no, she plays singing and piano for the most part.
All right, okay.
She's very talented, actually, Clara Ponty. And have you met Jean-Luc Ponty? Have you played with him or interacted with him at all?
Sorry, say that again.
I'm quite sure that a lot of people have compared you, or perhaps you compared yourself with Jean-Luc Ponty. Have you met him, played with him?
Well, we did, I think. No, I've never met him. I think we did, I think 1 or 2 concerts with, who were we playing? Who was he playing with? He was playing with, who would he have been playing with in 1974? Anyway, we did a couple of gigs with him. And I've seen him as well. I saw him play with Zappa as well. Very, very good. Yeah, he's an amazing player, and the real pioneer. I mean, we wouldn't have, the Zeta violin, I don't think, as it is without his, without his leadership. No, he's a fantastic player.
Yeah, he's unbelievable. For me, it's
absolutely.
He's a hero of mine in many ways, and I, hopefully he will accept my interview to the show as well. I would love to talk to the guy.
Yeah,
and he's a very good person too. I saw him like a couple of years ago, the last time.
Every time I see him, he seems to get better. Seems to get better and better. Fantastic player.
He in the late, I think, 70s, and he practiced. I mean, he's very good, and he's in the producing like at least an album a year, and he does like 30 or so gigs a year. He's very famous here in the United States as well, and in South America. Every time he goes to South America, he do, he played tonight, then he go to another city, another tonight, and so he's very well known in Latin America as well. So they do very well when they do there.
Yeah, I'm sure.
What kind of music do you like to listen to nowadays? You are at home.
I don't. I hate listening to music, actually.
Really?
Yeah. gives me no pleasure. It's work, really. You know, I listen to get ideas, to get inspired. You know, I'm very moved by music, but really because of that, I can only take it in very small amounts. But when I'm listening to music, I'm always working. I'm always thinking about it.
But it's like music in the background for you to get ideas about.
No, I can't stand background music. No. Somebody said, you know, it'd be great. We can share it. When I was working at university, we can share an office, you know, because you like music, and he played the radio all day long, and it would have killed me to do that. I can't. I have to listen to what's going on. I can't ignore it. So if I'm listening, I can't do anything else. I can't have background. You know, background music is a meaningless term.
Yeah.
Music isn't in the background. If music's there, I'm listening to it.
Gotcha.
You know, or I have to force myself not to, and that's you know, I have to put my fingers in my ears and get away from it. No, it doesn't. I never listen really for pleasure. No, I can't think of the last time I was able to do that.
So, compositionally, where your ideas come from? If you don't.
Well, yes, I steal ideas from other people. Wherever, if I find something I like, I'll steal it and use it. But I try to. I work in two ways, really. I work instinctively. The things I like best are the things I do instinctively. So I will improvise my way into something. So when I improvise on the violin, or I sing something, or I play something on a keyboard, and I try to not think, and try and just let the music come. Try to just be a channel for the music to come through me. I know that gets the best results, but you know, it doesn't always work. So sometimes I do things like I ask myself a question, like, you know, what would you really want to hear? What would make you excited? What would make you think, oh, I've never heard this before? And I try and answer that question musically. I try and say, well, what would surprise me? What would be different here? So I have that conversation with myself. But it's kind of very the beginning of it all is always kind of very non-musical, if you want. It's to do with trying to engage my feelings as much as possible, to say, well, what am I feeling now, or what's required here, or what, you know, what's at the heart of this, what's at the guts of this, what's the inside feeling, what's the power of this, you know, how do I feel, and keep looking for the feelings until something starts to emerge. That's the stuff that works for me. I've done, in the past, I've written music for shows, for theatre and stuff like that, and for videos and things where you're writing to a brief, but that's very technical for me. I find that hard to do that with any real heart. So I'm not very good at that. Well, no, I was okay at it, but I have to have my heart in it really to make it work.
Gotcha.
So that's where I go now. And the other thing is, I really like collaborating. I was bored with me a long time ago, and I like working with other people. It's the most exciting part of it, and that's one of the most difficult things really about the lockdown, and about not seeing other writers and players at the moment. We can do it in this way, over the phone and with Zoom, but it's still not the same as being in a room at the moment of creation. There's something wonderful about being physically close to somebody when you both realize that something wonderful just happened. And that's those are marvelous, wonderful moments that give life, to me, all of its meaning almost. Apart outside of family and love, it's those wonderful moments you share with other people.
Absolutely.
And that's what I really miss.
Absolutely, I understand. Last night I was able to go to, I think it was Amazon or Bandcamp, And I bought 3 records new from you. One, the duet that you did with David Jackson, the one that Andrew Booker, Peter Banks, and those are unbelievable pieces, man. They're so beautiful.
Oh, that's very kind of you. Thank you for buying the.
Yeah.
By the way, I appreciate it.
But I wanted to buy all of them, but you only have 3 in Bandcamp. You should have more, man.
Well, the rest you'll find the others on our website or
Yeah.
on
Yeah, in
where people buy
Amazon or in your
records. Yeah,
website.
yeah.
The one that
iTunes, yeah.
with Jackson and Booker, the one that I listened last night about 11 p.m. or so, unbelievable. I was very moved. They're very good stuff.
Which one are you talking about? The one with David Jackson?
The one for David Jackson, Another Day, the one with Andrew Booker as well.
Yeah.
Um,
It's working with great people. I mean, Andrew Booker is a fantastic musician. I mean, there's some people just make you work well, I found that out well. I think for Andrew is one of those people who just kind of organizes things in such a way that he can hear the best in you and bring it out. David Jackson's another person that's so easy to work with, and he makes me play well. Some of it is competition, but it's a mixture of, it's a love-hate thing there. We can kind of compete with each other, but we also reinforce each other's. We have a very similar sense of humor, so we find the same things funny, and and we kind of have strong emotions that work well together, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've done a lot with him the last few years.
Yeah. The other one that you did with Naomi Mackie.
Naomi Mackie, yes.
Oh, unbelievable. Oh, I'm very good.
She's
I didn't know her, so I end up emailing her. So hopefully she will get back to me.
Yeah, she's. I was lucky that she happened to be in London at the time when her children and my wife is Japanese and she's Japanese, and they were I think at the same school, and my wife met her and was talking to her, and when I realised how amazing she was, I mean, she's an incredible musician.
Absolutely.
I kind of dared to ask. I was interested in trying to do something new, and that was really the beginning of kind of something I call electric chamber music, and it was it's an attempt to use the kind of electric devices that are available to us, for delays and things like that, but in an acoustic kind of setting. And she was absolutely inspirational to play with. Such a sense of the preciousness of each note she has when the notes unfold on the piano. You know that love and care and her whole life up to that point has gone into that note. I learned so much, from playing with her. Really great experience.
Yeah.
And that's really what I like. I just like finding people, or being able to work with people who have that. Some of these people are very well, who are great at this, well known. Some of them are not particularly well known, but if they've got it, it's just one. I just want to be part of it. I just want to share that with them. It's just so precious, because it's like being on a different dimension somehow.
I know what you mean. Yeah, I didn't know her at all, and
no,
and I end up, going to her website and email to see if she wanna do.
She's an artist. She's an artist as well. She's a visual artist.
Yeah.
She's a remarkable woman. Yes.
By the way, another I was thinking about Japanese. Not that your wife is Japanese. Do you know David Sylvian?
I don't know him. I know of him, obviously. Yes. Yeah. I don't know him. No.
Yeah. Okay. That's an unbelievable guy too.
Yes. Yes, indeed. Yeah.
Now I don't know. He kind of retired at home. He doesn't want to tour anymore. I never seen the guy, but I would pay any money to see the guy. I'll talk to him.
I mean, I spent a long time, unfortunately, being very shy and not thinking very much of it, not thinking very highly of myself at all. And I think in the past I was just too nervous to talk to anybody like that. I mean, I got introduced to Peter Gabriel once, I remember, and
Wow.
sort of ran away, because I was
Really?
just, yes, I was just too nervous and felt so worthless. And I think John Wetton introduced me to him at the Albert Hall, I think, once, and I just found it all too frightening. I don't feel like that now, but I did probably for most of my career. I felt like that, so I wouldn't jump into places where probably I could have done and should have done, really. But I've enjoyed my life, even if it wasn't
Yeah.
at the highest level.
But a personal question about that: do you regret not, because you were shy and not being able to expose yourself and play with other musicians or people that introduced you, that you felt they were great, but you say, these people are not going to think good of me or whatever?
Yeah,
You regret that?
I yes, I do. Yes, um, because it's stupid.
But how do you reconcile that?
It's a
How do
lack.
you?
It's a lack of confidence, and it did get in. It did prevent me from developing. Probably, I think I probably would have developed faster as a musician
Mm.
had I been more confident. So yes, I do regret that, and I when I see my children, my grown-up children, still having that, I see their lack of confidence sometimes. I try to encourage them out of it, but the trouble is that when you're in it, when you feel underconfident, it's very hard to shift. So yeah, I do regret that, but I don't. It doesn't. I've enjoyed everything I've done, so I don't. I don't think I lost anything. I just could have had a different kind of path. I think I could have got a deeper understanding than I have of music. I think I could have gone even deeper into it, and
Yeah,
maybe theatre as well.
yeah. And I noticed that in other people that I have, um, you know who Anthony Phillips is from Genesis, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, Anthony. So I interviewed him. He left Genesis, and then Steve Hackett joined the band. So Anthony is also very, very quiet, very
I don't know.
doesn't do that many interviews, and he keep it to himself. He doesn't tour. He just releases records, send it to his company, and then they put it out there.
Yeah,
But he's very good too. I mean, he's unbelievable. I mean, who I am to judge what people should do or
mm,
shouldn't do? Uh, but it's same kind of keep it to himself, and but he's a good person. But he's a good person more on a one-to-one kind of scenario like this, you and I, instead
yes,
of giving an audience to 100 million. I'm sorry, to 100 people or do a presentation of 100 people or something.
yeah, yeah,
That people have managed to. Um, can you talk about the Noisy Records, your own record company?
yeah. I mean, that was I really. I was having difficulty getting my music released, and so I, um, decided I may as well do it myself. Um, well, I wasn't have no. I mean, there were. I mean, did get music out, but on smaller record companies, and I think in the end, um, since I wasn't able to access major record companies, I decided that the effort I put into it myself would probably be more than another small record company would. So I did it. It was purely for my own material when I did it, um, and I was interested in how far I could go with that, and um, it's been good and it's been bad. Really, it's a lot of it's very hard to make money as it is in most businesses, um, and it's a lot of work and a lot of paperwork for very small things. I mean, if you're not selling a lot of records, you've still got to do the calculations and share out the tiny amounts of money that come in to everybody. So the responsibilities are still there. But I've enjoyed having it as I've enjoyed the freedom of being able to put out stuff that I want to put out on it. So in that way, it's been very good. Um, Yeah,
And
I'm not. Yeah, I'm
and,
not sure.
and then
It's not successful as a business, unfortunately.
yeah.
But
But
yeah, I think it was
are
a
you
good decision.
selling digital music or CDs, vinyl, or almost?
No, I'm not yet. I know some. I've had conversations with a couple of people about doing vinyl, and some people are quite keen to do vinyl.
Yeah.
We might do that at some point. I don't like vinyl myself. I've never liked vinyl. I've hated it ever since I bought my first record player, because every record I've ever bought was scratched, and as soon as I put it on, it just went made a terrible noise. So
Right.
I was so relieved when CDs came along, because at last I could listen to music without all that crackling and noise going on.
Yeah.
So I've no idea why people love vinyl. I don't know, but I understand it's true for many people.
Well,
Usually the people I'm talking to, like yourself, are always very keen on vinyl. People
yeah.
who listen, yeah.
If you have good quality turntables, right, and records that are in very good shape and very good stereo, the music is something. It sounds very, very good.
Yeah. Well, I'm very clumsy,
Yeah.
so I've never, even the best that I could buy, and I mean, I've never had very top end hi-fi equipment. But as soon as I put the record on and then put the needle on it, it would bounce and it would be scratched, and that's it. I just they're too frail for me. I'm just too clumsy for vinyl. It's not, you have to be very careful, and you have to have great love um, for pieces of plastic and electronic equipment. I'm not like that. I'm very, um, I'm very, I break things very easily. I drop things, trip over them, all that sort of thing. So I'm not a good person for vinyl. But I understand the quality that it does have.
Well, if you ever are in touring United States, I will
Yeah,
invite you to my house here in Virginia, and they will listen to it. It's unbelievable, David.
yeah.
I
Well, that
mean,
would be
but
nice.
high-end
I
stereo.
can't afford to tour the United States, because you want to charge me some extortionate amount of £3,000 or more to even visit there. You have to pay to go and play in the United States. It's too
Yeah,
expensive.
yeah. Well, on me, I will go to. I'm planning on going um, to to London in April or May to see some
Yeah.
shows, but with the pandemic, I don't know if I will be able, if my wife will allow me
No,
to go there.
I don't know. I mean, I'm supposed to be playing again in May, but I'm not sure it's going to happen. I suppose it all depends on the vaccine, how fast that gets rolled out.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed that'll be okay, but we don't know yet.
Yeah, so I wonder if you could tell me a little bit about the new material that you're working on, at least on your own at home, and any
Yeah.
gigs that you're planning on for doing
No,
in
well,
next
no.
year?
I mean, the earliest gigs are in. I think we're supposed to be playing Gouveia Festival in Portugal in May. I think that's the first thing that's
Yeah,
with my band. But or is that with David? I can't remember. I can't even remember if it might be just David Jackson and me, actually. But anyway, that's the first thing. But I'm not sure that any of that's going to happen yet. So I'm not thinking about concerts at all. But I have been recording. I've done. English Sun was the first as an electric chamber music collaboration I did with Andrew Keeling, who's a flute player, who's written a couple of books about King Crimson. I met him when I was writing something about a piece called Trio from the Starless album, Starless and Bible Black, and he arranged Trio for early instruments. Anyway, he's a great flute player, and we did an album called English Sun, and we created a piece called October is Marigold 10 years ago. And what we've done this year is we've recorded a whole album which is probably going to be called October is Marigold, which is based all around that now. So it's flute, it's violin, and flute, violin with piano. He plays piano, he plays guitar as well. So it's a variety of instruments, but it's all this electric chamber music feel. And that's probably going to be will hopefully be out sometime early next year. That's my next project. That's definitely up for release. We're just looking at the artwork, and you know, we've got the running order and we've got everything ready. We just need to get it mastered and get the artwork done. So that's the next thing in the pipeline. My own band, we're working on a strange album, really, which is a studio album. It was all recorded in the studio before lockdown, or you know, most of the bulk of it was the drums, bass, and everything, and vocals. But it's a mixture of songs that it's what we've been playing live, and we play quite long versions of things. So it's actually only 7 songs I think we're putting on it. One is Starless, with our version of that with is all Ginny and Wild singing, and we're doing a version of Exiles there because we've reworked that in a different way. So those 2 Crimson tracks, and then we've taken from Another Day. There are 2 tracks from there, one called Come Again and one called Going Nowhere. And we've got words, Ginny's written words for those, and we've turned those into songs. So those are song versions of those tracks that are going on this album. So it's kind of, and then we've picked up a couple of tracks from earlier DCB albums, David Cross Band albums, and these again are ones that Ginian hasn't sung, so it's where the singer hasn't really been heard before, but he's been doing it on stage. So it's kind of revisiting material, but you know, it's never been heard in this form before, never been recorded in this form before. You know, it's just we've recorded everything. We're mixing it now. We're doing a kind of team mixing thing where we're kind of taking responsibility for a track each, and then getting feedback, and then modifying it. And that's all coming to the end of that process now. So that should be ready by the beginning of January, I would have thought as well. So you know, then we need to.
I would love to listen to that stuff when it's released.
Oh, it's sounding great, and it's sounding very different as well. We've kind of moved into a kind of slightly warmer phase, really, and we're a little bit something with a little bit more space in it than we've used in the past, and it's starting to work very well. So yeah, it's sounding great, and I'll be putting some tasters up when it's releasable.
I wanted to ask a question. It's how are you doing on time? Are you busy, or I have time for a couple more?
A few minutes more. I need to do some work on this Starless thing.
Are you still? Yeah, are you still in touch with Robert Fripp and or the King? You talk to them like frequently, or I think you guys did a album in 2015.
No, well, Robert and I do from time to time with not recently. I think I keep hoping I'm going to see him when I go to the. You know, he invites me to come to the concerts, and I go to the concerts when they're on here, and they sort of, which is so it's nice to see the band. But he never comes. He never shows himself, so I never actually get to meet him. Just, you know, the odd email every now and again we have about, you know, some about a track or something like that. Bill, yeah, every now and again I've had a chat with him or met him. You know, the last sit-down chat, unfortunately, it was at John Wetton's funeral when we sat down and had quite a nice chat. But you know, I have talked to him over the phone, and you know, sent him stuff to listen to, and emailed him and stuff like that. And Jamie Muir, who was part of the band, haven't been able to see him since, you know, the early 70s. I don't know what happened to him, really. So you know, I miss being in touch with him.
I email also Robert Fripp, but the chances of him getting back to me are very rare because he's very famous, and you know, unless I was coming from the BBC or something. That would be a different story. But probably I would never have the opportunity to interview the guy. But I have great respect for him and the music and.
Yeah, and what I really like about he's married to Toya, and they've been doing this sort of Sunday lunchtime. I don't know if you've seen it. They've been
No, say that again, please.
They've been doing a Sunday lunch with Robert and Toya, his
Yeah.
wife. Yeah, it's a sort of online little sketch thing that they do. They do something. It's usually quite funny what they do. I really enjoy that. What's really nice to see is to see Robert being playful in that way. I really enjoy that.
And are those on like on
reminds me-
YouTube in some channel or?
Yeah, it's on. I don't know. Jamie showed, my wife showed me, but it must be on YouTube, or it must be links to it from the DGM site. I would think.
Yeah, I got you. I need to figure out.
But
Yeah,
it's that's how I remember him from touring. When he was young, was being very playful and and always a great sense of humour. As well as being really kind of engaged in the music, and it's just nice to see that side of him is, alive and well. That's good. That's all.
Yeah. It happens to me with a couple of musicians that the opinion that I have of them through the music is very different than when I interview them or I talk to them after a show, whatever. And it's sometimes it's shocking. The opinion. You are the same. Although I never met you through the interviews and the music I play, and now they've been talking to you for a year, for an hour. Yeah. You're no different. But some people, musicians, I can tell right away after talking to 5 minutes with them that the personality doesn't match the music, if you will.
All right. Okay. But mine does it?
No, yours does. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Good.
Oh, that's
a good thing, isn't it?
Yeah, you're a very prolific, humble, maybe shy musician, but you're very good. You're very good at what you do, and as I say, I listened to the album that the Roll Free for 1915, the Stickman with Midori, the one we did with Sean Quinn, the one from Jackson and Booker. And the one with Naomi that's very, very good music, man.
Yeah, I'm glad you like it. I do my best.
No, you're very good.
I try to.
Yeah, very good, man.
Thank you.
All right. Well, okay. I wanted to finish this, but thanking you for the time, David. You're a very good person, and I'm glad you did have the opportunity to share an hour with us, and to your wife that allowed me to do the introduction and email her and put this together. And I wanted to thank you very much for your time again. Shortly I will be emailing you this interview so you can keep it to your record, and I will let you know as soon as we have it on the website. So you get, if you're into social media, and you can share the link in your website or with your friends or whatever. For people that want to buy your music, where they can find David Cross stuff on your website as well, right?
Yeah, david-cross.com.
Yeah.
david-cross.com.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I hope you do well. I will email you shortly, and thank you very much for your help and your time.
Okay, and thank you very much. I've very much enjoyed talking to you, and I just hope other people get something out of this. And
absolutely.
All my best to all the listeners as well, because without them, nothing would happen.
Absolutely. Thanks again.
Okay, all the best. All right, have a good day. Bye.